the top 10 uses for drones on a job site. I'm going to count them down. Number 10 is real-time reconnaissance or real-time on-site communication. There's such a thing as a mapping mission, and we can fly a photo collection, a data collection. Let's just clarify. I'm in the data business. I just use a very unique tool to collect data. And then through our partnership here, we're going to propose that we work with you to figure out what deliverables, what work product is what you need. It could be a two-dimensional ortho map and a GPS rectified map to represent the entire job site. It could also be 3D models. It could also be survey grade terrain surface models, TSMs, elevated surface models, ESMs. But let's just say the drone flies a data collection flight on a 50-acre site. We produce a map overlay, and you have data right away. So here's an example of taking drone data, which would be a two-dimensional ortho map, and then overlaying your schematics, overlaying your blueprints, overlaying MEP, and finding out that a riser, a plumbing riser, was actually 6 inches off from plan. Now, wouldn't it be great, show of hands, who thinks it'd be great to discover that before the slab is poured? Why aren't you raising your hands? I think it'd be really good to find out before the slab is poured. Let's look at the cost saved, because you're no longer tearing out the slab, you're no longer adjusting later the actual fixture or its location in the building, and then you're not dealing with back charges from other subs who have experienced problems because this plumbing riser was 6 inches off of plan. Cost for the drone service, $525. There is a way of going into a subscription plan where you prepay for 12 flights in advance. That gets your cost of a flight down to $325. We call that a subscription flight versus just a flight. Plus $200 in post-production time for us to work with the graphics to convert your blueprints to a PDF and actually do the overlay. But by the end of the day or the middle of the next day at the latest, you're going to have this representation before you pour the slab. Now the offending contractor gets to move his plumbing riser before any complications. Reason number 9 to have a drone on your job site: it decreases labor costs. The interesting thing about our job is once we have an ability to communicate with your site superintendent, we'll develop a protocol of letting them know when we're going to be there, what our intentions are, and communicate with them so that the crane is not nervous about us being around, so that the superintendent of security is not nervous about being around. We can actually fly, we can actually originate the flight from across the street or up to a half a mile away from the job site. We'll usually try and locate ourselves in a higher vantage point than the job site, because that just gives us better command and control of the mission. The rule is line of sight, okay? We need to be able to see the drone with our naked eye at all times. I'll be handing out a rate sheet with a glossary on the back of it at the end of the presentation. So if I'm throwing out any terms that you're not familiar with, hopefully I'll be covering it in the glossary. With this particular drone service, the drone service crew actually saves time and effort, save the drive time for the superintendent and other staff, safety inspectors. Instead of clearing security, parking, signing in, logging in, going through the whole process, donning the PPE, going out and clearing a launch and recovery site, and then being in the midst of a construction site with vehicles and traffic and material moving around, we can be a half a mile away and safely and efficiently conduct this. So it saves us a lot of time, and it saves you a lot of time. For example, a real life example is a commercial roofing contractor the roof of the, obviously the roof, of the Long Lines building, AT&T, downtown Kansas City, 321 feet in the air. 6 flights for the duration of the project. I believe they were weekly. We had a subscription rate cost of $350. So the drone inspection cost for the AT&T Long Lines Building roofing project was $2,100 to this particular contractor. But over that 6 months, I was able to discount my rates by $900 because I wasn't having to go through each one of those parking, clearing security, riding the elevator, climbing a ladder, and all those different things that would take 2 hours for mobilization and demobilization on that particular day. So I pass along those savings. I'm also saving 2 highly compensated staff from the company 6 inspections at 4 hours per inspection. I know I did the math wrong here, but let's extrapolate it a little bit more. Let's say we saved $800 for the superintendent and the safety manager not to have to go to the top floor, to the roof of the AT&T Long Lines building. They're in their office watching it on a big screen TV, on a private YouTube channel, talking to me on the cell phone. Turn around, I need to see that again. Go lower, I need to see that again. Oh, wait, there's Joe hot mopping tar without a face shield. Boom, safety citation, right? Plus fuel, mileage, risk, and then the staff is not able to do more important tasks. So, looking at this, the drone saved $5,700 plus minus the $2,100 that the drone flights cost. There's an ROI of $3,600 on this one 6-week project. Anybody have any questions on that? Feel free to holler out.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Going back to your first point on 10, when you do your mapping of the topography,
Yes.
how does it deal with water structures, like a pond or a lake? Does it map the top of the water surface or the bottom?
Great question. We're not able to penetrate the surface of the water, so the mapping is of the water surface. But that brings up a good point. There are certain textured surfaces that don't represent well in a map, especially when you're trying to marry them together. A high overlap, a high front lap, a high side lap, all those different things. But really, the cloud software relies on right angles. So a pond, if it incorporates the banks of the pond at each one of those photographs, it'll stitch. But if I'm over solid water, there's no stitching. It'll just give you an irregular surface. And sometimes trees, forests, fields will also represent that. We can minimize that parallax by doing lawn mowing grids, crisscrossing grids, and then flying at different altitudes, and then even tilting our camera instead of nadir, which is straight down. We can actually tilt and get an oblique. You got a question, Michael, or something to add?
Oh, no.
There is a program out there that will,
Thank you.
you can place in the water body and it will take, see what the bottom elevation is. And that's part of what I should do also.
So we're all about solutions, we're all about technology. The three of us have made a commitment to catering to the needs of our clients, and so we'd like to begin relationships. And if you have something that we can help you solve, we will be happy to do that. And yes, there are drones, water drones, ROV rovers that go under the water and can map. But you'd be amazed at what you could extrapolate by seeing the banks of the lake or the pond going down in, and then having topography kind of anticipate what the depth would be. All right. Again, a glitch with the slide. This is number 8, and this is point cloud for 3D modeling. Now, Eric put on the original invite, he put on LiDAR. LiDAR is a laser scanner where it can create millions of point clouds because the laser beam is going out and then reflecting back. LiDAR is so sophisticated now, there are drones that can fly through an orchard and detect how many pieces of fruit, how many fruit are on those trees, apples, oranges, things like that. So that's how sophisticated LiDAR is. We currently aren't invested in LiDAR. We're open to the opportunity if we were to have enough business, but you'd be amazed at what photogrammetry can create, and that's photos being used to create point clouds. We can still get millions of points and put it together. Yes?
So how accurate is your photo data that you export?
All right, great question. The photo data can be as accurate as 2 centimeters of resolution. Here's my analogy. You're at Union Station and you want to examine the beautiful ornate floor, but Google Earth puts you at the ceiling of Union Station trying to examine the floor. That's called 1 meter resolution. The drone flight can create 2 centimeter resolution, and that would be like you on your knees examining the spot on the floor that you want. We can get more accurate. There's different levels of subscription service. We can even get down to 1 centimeter of accuracy, and for takeoffs and for estimations, we can be plus or minus 2%, which I believe is exactly what a surveyor is going to guarantee you anyway. So, making drone data more powerful for construction. This is long-winded, but essentially what we're able to do at our organization is create a 3D model using millions of points, data points, and then give it to you in a format that you can use in your software. There's different formats, and we can cover the file extensions and everything like that later. But does everyone know what an XYZ point is? All right, so we shoot ground control points, and we determine an X, Y, Z and a coordinate in multiple locations on our photo survey. And now that photograph and that 3D model is ortho-rectified. In other words, we've aligned it with the North Kansas quadrant, with northing, easting, and elevation. So you're going to have something that can be actionable data, and then Michael can go out the next week and stake for curbs for the roadways from the drone survey. So here's an example of a point cloud of a hospital site. In this particular case, the general contractor was not confident when the earth-moving contractor submitted his bid and said, "We're finished." The general contractor hired a drone survey, the point cloud was generated, and the end results were that we concluded that the site contractor needed to export more soils in order to reach the desired elevation. The ability to create what's called a heat map, where you can see what, as a terrain surface model and elevation surface model, what areas he failed to remove, and then you can get them to remove it, saving a lot of problems. The drone flight for this particular was a $325 subscription flight. We charge $500 for GPCs, ground control points. We do the overlays and DEM models for $825. So the cost to the general contractor, $825. I don't know. I'm estimating $10,000 to $20,000 saved. If you had the wrong grade for the parking lot, yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, so you're gonna say maybe $10,000 or $20,000 a miss, right?
Yes.
Or unfulfilled scope of work, right? I'm gonna ask questions about drone owners in this room. Can they send their drone files to you to get these maps made?
No, these are going to be specifically produced
Okay.
with a specific intention. We can teach you how to do this with your drones, but it's not like a photo mission could represent this kind of information.
So Mike, are you willing to come to their firms and teach their people how to do these kind of maps?
Absolutely. We have a consultation fee of $130 an hour. We can teach you how to fly as a pilot. We can teach your company how to use this type of data and make it actionable.
Very good.
Thank you, Eric. All right, number 7, real estate developers. Real life example, BIM, Building Information Modeling. That's the new hot buzzword. Proposed mixed use office park, okay? Right now it's a patch of dirt, but several investors want to invest $500 million to create a mixed use office park. What do you do to get local citizen buy-in? What do you do to get more investors involved? And what do you do to represent the job? So the cost for the drone flight for the full duration of a 2-year project at a subscription rate would be $15,000 and some change. We have a fee. We're a certified reseller of 3D modeling, and I'll show you some examples, hopefully with some connectivity here shortly. $10,000 to $25,000. What you've experienced in the past are graphic artists who can conceptualize the mixed-use office park and physically draw it on a picture of Google Earth. We can create a drone picture where in the case of Great Plains Mall, right now on Google Earth, the mall is still there. What's it been, 2 years? About, something like that. And then we can actually, using gaming software to the level of Xbox, PlayStation, we can create this mixed-use office complex, and you can fly through it as if you are the drone. You can go down the streets and stop and turn and look at a tree, and data will pop up. This is a spruce tree. This is a 5-year-old spruce tree, you know, as you're designing this. Now, if that changes into an oak tree, it's real easy to do. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. The city or the complex still exists in cyberspace. We just change the data and the image related to that one tree. So it's very, very manipulatable. Is that a word, guys? You have the ability to fly through the site in virtual reality using tools like Cinemizer goggles, VR goggles. Your clients, your citizens that are buying into this mixed-use project can sit and fly through this office complex while it's still a patch of dirt. Here's a picture. Each one of these buildings can be made as individual things. Every floor inside of this building can be an individual data point. Every HVAC unit on top of this building can be an individual unit. And you can isolate those things, you can inspect those things, you can turn around them as if you are inspecting them physically. It can be as detailed as you want. That's the $25,000 at the top of the line. The $10,000 will get you this kind of representation, but I guarantee something like this goes a long way in attracting investors and getting citizens to do a buy-in on a project. What number are we on? Help me out here. 6? All right, 6. Volumetric calculation. So I must see the printing. All right, construction site inspections. Real life example, volumetric calculations for a large scale provider of landscape product. Check this out. 86-acre site, this company produces landscape products. To shut down for a day is $1 million write-off for the company. If you exceed a boundary of 20 meters from the shack, you have to be in a vehicle or they have to shut the job site down. So you have a lot of safety issues, you have a lot of risk, and they want to know the number of cubic yards of stockpiles to within 3 to 5%. We were able to calculate within 3 to 5% that they had 505,125 cubic yards of stockpiles. $525 for the one-time flight cost. Time spent on the actual site, 0. I flew from the adjoining office park. There was no shutdown. The total time of the flight was 30 minutes. The next day I delivered a PDF, CAD file, maps, point cloud, 3D model, and volumetric calculation. Just imagine the costs associated with shutting down the plant for it to be safe for humans to be outside of this safety zone, plus a survey team for 2 weeks creating thousands of points on those 86 acres, and then waiting 2 weeks for the results of the survey. Here's the stockpiles. In addition, there were bags on pallets over here. So technically those are stockpiles, but we're able to measure any type of a stockpile with the drone. I'll show you how it works. The blue area is the safety zone. Any person, any human has to be in a vehicle, a large vehicle, outside of this zone where the whole plant has to shut down. We're able to isolate these stockpiles. The camera has an algorithm that knows the altitude. I tell you, the hardest thing to estimate are ramps. Anyone agree with that? Versus piles or cones or confined where you have concrete boxes. Ramped piles we're able to calculate, as well as palleted goods. Any questions so far? Number 5, maintenance inspections. A 3D interactive environment. This takes our BIM modeling a little bit further. So I have this related to a cell tower, but it could be anything. It could literally be any facility. Every single item, every cross member, every antenna, everything except for wildlife, and I'll show you on the next picture, can be illuminated and given a separate code and a separate data window. So let's just say you do a survey on a cell tower. You only do it once because the data that you've gotten is a lifetime. Now what you've done is you've saved a truck roll for the phone, for the technician. You've saved him from climbing the tower, and his only goal in climbing the tower would be to get a serial number off of one antenna. But for this particular example, for $4,200, you have every piece of data on that antenna for the life of that antenna. Saves a truck roll, saves a climb, saves the risk, and a lifetime of information. We're also able to determine if it's even safe for anyone to climb. I don't know if you've ever dealt with wildlife before. There are some wildlife that will fight them to the death, yours or theirs, to protect their young. And this is an osprey nest at the top of a cell tower. And I guarantee you do not want to mess with an osprey, either federally because of regulations or because of how they'll attack you. Here's some more pictures of some inspections. We're able, with different lenses on our cameras, we're able to have a standoff, a safety standoff of 125 feet. So this looks like someone climbed up right behind this antenna and took this picture, but we were actually 125 feet away. This is not a real clear representation. If you had it as a 20 megapixel photograph, you would be able to see corrosion, you would be able to see missing pieces, paint peeling, frayed wires. The wildlife, when they climb these towers, they need nesting material, and they will actually strip coax that's all they have to do all day long, is just strip coax to get nesting material. What if you had a power company? What if you're charged with surveying a power line, a power distribution system? Not only can we map the right-of-way and check for breaks or problems with the right-of-way, we can get this type of photography. Again, checking for corrosion. These are insulators on a 5PW tower. And this is magnification. You can check and see if the cotter pins were still in place. You could check and see if this had a serial number, what part you'd have to be ordering to get replaced. Number 4, site logistics planning. Cost for a drone flight and data collection. This is a $525 prescription flight because it's a little bit more involved. This is for a roofing consultant who had an apartment complex to certify the condition of the roof of 22 buildings right before a real estate transaction takes place. His alternative is to rent a boom lift for 3 days, and I think $750 is generous. It's on the low side. You might even have a boom lift, so I kind of factored that in. A staff of 2 for 3 days, $1,500 plus the risk. And here's what we have here with this. We actually have a lifetime of information on Shawnee, is that Shawnee Place? Okay. This is the 2D ortho map. The drone flies over at 240 feet and takes 300 photographs. The software stitches those photographs and makes this one large 1 gigabyte photograph. You can zoom in anywhere on this photograph and see missing shingles. You can even see hail hits. But the roof inspector, the roof consultant, who was from out of town, got this the next day for $525. All right. Thermal imaging for leak detection. This is the new buzzword as well. With the thermal infrared camera setup for our drones here, we can actually not only detect water leaks in a flat roof or a membrane, even under a ballast system, but we can detect penetrations and voids and exfiltration and infiltration on exterior walls and facades. We can fly up the facade of a building and map it vertically as if we were mapping something horizontally. Yes, Eric?
This is one of the hottest things I've seen out there, Mike, because we're working on some green roofs right now. And what's the alternative? Is the alternative looking for leaks to flood the roof? Or what's the alternative to having your drone, he'll show you some imagery, it just blows your mind. He can find leaks, pinholes, and the water is spread underneath, but what's the alternative to this? If you're not using a drone to find leaks in an existing roof, you're a general, what are the alternatives? You're also a roof expert.
Correct.
You're an expert witness roof expert.
Correct.
What's the alternative to drone flight for checking roof leaks?
Right, Eric mentioned that the roof, prior to having a green planting zone put on top of it, needs to be flooded or examined. What I propose, instead of flooding and having a captive swimming pool on top of the building and then checking for leaks from the underside, because that's the alternative, let's just say that a minute leak might take a week to migrate through the single ply membrane, the insulation, the roof deck, and then it's going to come through a penetration here, like the ceiling stains, but the actual leak could be over here on a parapet or on a seam where the flat meets the coping. So what we do is we flood it, but then we drain it quickly, and then at the end of the day, in what we call the golden hour, after the sun has radiated that system, any residual water that has leaked under the membrane will create a heat signature that the rest of the roof does not have. So thermal imagery is kind of like art, if you ask me right now. It can be science because there's radiometric information. You can dial it into, say, this is 98.7 degrees, this is 98.6 degrees, here's an anomaly. But what we're really looking for, and that's the key word, is an anomaly. We're really looking for things that stand out, okay? Now, these HVAC units, it could be perfectly logical that they're running hot or cold compared to the rest of the roof. But what about this spot right here? There is no replacement for boots on the roof, but you're trying to eliminate boots on the roof multiple times, multiple pairs of boots, because each time you step on a 20-year-old single ply, the old Carlisle membranes, and especially if it's ballasted with rock, you're putting holes in that and you're taking the liability for that. But let's also take into account solar installations, radio tower installations, anything that is penetrated or bolted to the roof. Before that warranty, before that supplier or installer's warranty is up, have your roof inspected. If we find any roof leaks, let's blame it on them. If they were smart, they would have had a pre-installation thermal scan of the roof to eliminate their liability and risk at that point. But let's just take a look at this. We can say that some of these are legitimate heat signatures, right? But some of them would not be. And we would investigate, either closer with the drone or actually get up on the roof, and now we can actually do the non-contact radioactive testing for moisture, or we could core it and squeeze the wet insulation into a bucket and say, there's 3,000 gallons of water existing in this, even though this is all the owner of the building is experiencing right now. It happens like that. Number 2 reason to have drones on a job site. How about this? Progress for pay app. Raise your hand if you have to submit photos to get paid. Okay? Well, I always did. And some of my photos were just my cell phone, and sometimes I'd get a call and say, you didn't make our milestone. Sometimes I wouldn't even get a call, I'd get a check and I'd say, what the, I didn't make their milestone. Well, with the drone data, we can actually provide undisputed proof from multiple angles that that milestone has been met. So in this particular example, cost for a drone flight and data collection, $825 for a, I said prescription, it's actually subscription flight cost. Data delivered the next day, risk of missing out on a substantial payout, $1.2 million. Here's a highway. This is just one section. Let's say you're on a big DOT project. This is a Google Earth picture that may be 2 years old. What if you're really At this point, wouldn't it be great to show the owners, the stakeholders, DOT, whoever's writing your check, this is where I'm at. I actually can create a 3D model of that overpass that you could fly under and around and such. And here's a little bit further down the highway. This is a 4.5 mile section of highway. This is the old farm road that crossed an interstate. This cost a lot of people their lives for many years, and it cut a town in half. So this is the Google Earth, literally 2 years after this contractor completed a flyover, 2 roundabouts, and the other roundabout 4 miles away. So here is real-time reconnaissance. This is an ortho photo of just that section, about a mile. There's still a mile and a half that way and a mile and a half this way. But this is the overpass, the roundabouts, the flyover, whatever you want to call it. 2 years after they completed the project, it's in such a rural location, Google Earth had not updated, well, just like the Great Plains Mall, on Google Earth today, it still shows it's there. I also have a 3D model of this that you can fly through, but here's something that's really cool. This is a 4.5 gigabyte photograph of the 4.5 miles. You could have this printed professionally, and it would take up the space on that wall right there of those pictures right there. And you'd have detail like a 20 megapixel photograph. Safety review flights. A lot of companies will go ahead and get a subscription, and then their flights are $325. You can buy a block of 12, and then, you know what, every week have us go to a different job site for that $325. It doesn't have to be job site specific. But here's what the data we can collect from a safety review flight. We have a program where the drone can fly to the exact same space each and every time. So we can say go to the northwest corner at an XYZ and turn back towards the building and take a vertical panorama, 4 shots from top to the bottom of the building. And it'll do that from that exact XYZ coordinate each and every time. There's a couple of different benefits to that. Number one, at the end of the job, you can do a really, really cool time lapse or hyperlapse of the job progressing because the perspective doesn't change. But the other one is it's a way of saying you have a safety program and that you're inspecting, let's say, flag lines, or let's say scaffolding, or let's say something that relates to job site safety. You're able to definitively document that particular aspect. The case of this particular contractor is pretty inspirational. I can't say it's all because of drone technology. It's drone technology, safety inspections, data from drones is just one part of his safety program. He also has a independent, not an independent, but a designated safety manager. But this particular contractor documented that through an E-mod on his workers' comp insurance, he saves $300,000 annually by having a safety program, and drones are part of it. Again, we're able to see where a worker forgot his face shield while he's hot mopping tar. We're able to see a worker that didn't have long sleeves while they're on an asbestos or a very dangerous roofing material removal project. So there's a lot of data that can be gathered just by sitting and watching the 20 minutes of video that we're going to get on a job site. So some of the deliverables that we'll get on a job site, obviously photographs, obviously videos, mapping, 2-dimensional ortho maps, ortho photos, 3-dimensional modeling, and then for additional fees, we can add ground control points and get down to survey grade for volumetric calculations, cut and fill, things that typically you'd have to hire a surveyor who would then hand the data to your dirt work contractor, who then, you may never see that data personally, you're just going to get a bid from him. But what if you confirmed his bid? What if you verified his bid? What if you called him on the phone and said, I think you're a little high. Here's what we calculate. Can we do it again and confirm? And what would that do for you on bid day when everyone else is not really guessing, but everyone else is padding to save their ass, CYA, and you've got definitive survey grade, ground control point, ortho-rectified data for cut, fill, volumetric calculations, stockpiles, you name it. Another side effect for this particular contractor and others, and I could show you if I had internet connectivity, I could show you how when I interact with that contractor on social media, whether it's a video of a safety video or a promotional video with a new product, Morgan Miller Plumbing, they got a brand new jetter, and they had a team meeting where 10 of their technicians all met, went through the training program. We did a documentation of that particular training session, and we shared it on our Facebook page and our Twitter, and they shared it on theirs, and we had 3,200 views in 1 week. And so that's a big social media marketing promotion aspect, but it also does a lot for morale. Because like with the roofing contractor, when your job is 321 feet in the sky, who's gonna see your product? Who's gonna see what you do every day? So now each one of your workers becomes vested in sharing this on their YouTube channel or on their social media with their families. What was the other one, Erica? Oh, South Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. They had a golf tournament. I broadcasted live from the golf tournament and shared a video of a country club in Raymond. So this is a great opportunity. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Dave. Really looking forward to working with you guys.
Mike produced some pricing list for you guys, so you have, if you're sitting on a Saturday morning trying to do an estimate, what's it gonna cost to drone flight this site 10 times? And also, he's got a glossary of some of these terms he's talking about. I'm gonna ask you a question. How many people have learned something here today that'll save them money or make them money on their job sites?
All right.
Nice.
We're gonna all step outside. You're invited to partake in what's called an epic droning. We're gonna pause for a group photo. The drone will back away and create something memorable for us. And we also have the ability, we're gonna hook these up and fly one with the goggles, and I'll fly over this strip mall's roof, and you can, everywhere you look, the camera will turn and you'll be able to do your own inspection. Questions and answers, Q&A, yes?
When you guys make the orthometric, the maps and 3D images, do you guys use your own off-site software on a computer, or do you use one of the online services? What is your experience with the online services?
Okay, let me just ask a quick question for you. Your concern is because?
Oh, it's just quality as far as processing, and then it's data collection and security.
Yes, yes, I knew I was gonna reveal that. A lot of people are concerned today with corporate security. We actually have the ability to help you host all of this data on your own server. Right now, the number crunching, the stitching, it all does take place in a cloud. It is a United States-based company that does the cloud processing. And it does go through a secure portal on our end, and then we can transmit it to you via a secure FTP, whether it's a Google Drive folder with a password, or whether it is a Google Dropbox that Eric's real fond of.
Love the cloud.
So,
He's saying this is all in the cloud. It actually stitches the ortho mosaic together in the cloud, and he sends you a link to it. It takes about 2 minutes for mine to open it up, but it's a massive stitched together, essentially photograph at incredible resolution. We did so we're doing a Latham Medical Center landscape right down there, OB NICU Tower, and Mike put together a 3D video, and he did high def orthomosaic photography of that building. The general contractor, the architect, were so tickled to get that file. They had never seen anything like that, right? I think they bought it from you, didn't they?
yes, they did.
So Mike owns the rights. He's a photographer as well. So he's a pilot, first and foremost, right? FAA licensed pilot and photographer. So he's not just flying a drone around, he's delivering some very nice photography, 3D imagery, BIM models, amazing stuff. More questions, because
Wow. Take this one in front.
As an electrical contractor, say I'm going to a site and I want to do a safety inspection before we ever are on the site. What kind of permissions do I need from, say it's a multiple tenant location?
Great question. Usually what is done is the subcontractor will put us in touch with the general contractor, and we'll do the legwork for getting permission to be there on your behalf. Because the general contractor will need insurance certificates, FAA certificates. We might need some different clearances depending on what airspace we're in. So there could be a little bit of a road to pave, but we'll do that on your behalf. But sometimes you might have a contact at the GC, one phone call, they're like, sure, yeah, we have drones going up every day. You know, it's one of those. I would anticipate within the next 5 years having a drone on every single job site.
Lights. Watch this.
Thank you, Eric.
This is our.
With a thunderstorm rolling in, you can see the rain in the background.
That's our project to do Opie Dickey, the birthplace. You give this to an owner, and they're just tickled to death, right? Because this is actually the new tower, and our landscape is all around the front and the sides. I can see my guys working over here, Tim.
And in the 3D model, you can see them working as well. You can even measure the width of the bucket of the bulldozer on the same dashboard that I'll give you access to. You can do takeoffs, you can do measuring.
He produced the video too, and sent it to us. It's an MP4 file. Get back to your customer when you're done with the job. Say, hey, look what we did for you.
And the music is always generic. We buy the rights to the music so you don't get hung up on social media with YouTube saying, hey, this is a song we're going to monetize, or we're going to put ads on, or we're going to block.
Marketing. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
There's some more questions.
Yes, more questions. Yes.
Sites?
So question, and I know you do this from kind of the sky hook down, but say we need electrical contractor, we needed a BIM model of this room.
Yes.
You fly through and get a bazillion points to
Okay.
after a 3D AutoCAD and BIM.
For risk mitigation, flying indoors is usually pretty well controlled. If we can get the imagery, we have different types of connections. I failed to mention this. We also do ground level and interior photogrammetry and 3D modeling. So if you had a pump room or something like that, or you had a manifold room or your electrical box, we can actually collect the data, use our modeling experts to create a 3D model for you, and then with your intelligence, with your information, we can say this is 220 out, this is circuit 1, circuit 2, and have everything isolated. And
Yeah, I would think mostly from a standpoint, say you have a long hallway, it's a mechanical shaft.
Yes.
It's 300 meters long.
We can create the 3D environment.
So I have to run 2 pipes that big down through there.
Yeah.
We can 3D model how to do all that. And
Yes.
okay.
BIMRay is our new partner, and it takes, Avatar's a 10. Typical 3D modeling, like I would have shown you today, is a 5, what I can create just right out of the drone, right out of our cloud. These guys are an 11.
So you have an international network of pilots.
That's correct. We have what's called the Drone Syndicate. So if you had a job site in Boston, Massachusetts, and you needed the same type of information we're providing for you here in Kansas City, we can arrange for that to take place through our network, internationally actually. If you needed a picture of a resort in Tahiti, within 72 hours we could have a drone photo of that resort. Just imagine a drone on every single job site and savings of $3,000 to $30,000 to $300,000 per job on your job sites. That could mean a lot to your bottom line and your profit sharing programs within your company, I'm sure.
Liked what you saw today on our YouTube, subscribe to our channel and you'll be notified when new YouTubes are posted to our channel. And if you want to see some of the educational events coming up, go to ASPE32.org and check out our calendar. Join American Society of Professional Estimators today and take your career in estimating to new heights.